AOC is endorsing Democratic Congressman Dan Lipinski's primary opponent, Marie Newman. What does it mean for her potential 2020 endorsement? And we've got some new 2020 polling. We are back with Democratic strategist Andrew Feldman and Federalist staff writer Madeline Osburn. Guys, welcome back. It's been a long 2 minutes since we spoke. So AOC, no surprise, I think, that she's endorsing Dan Lipinski's opponent here. Very much, she came up as the outsider, and Lipinski is a fairly conservative Democrat. So no surprise there. But it got me thinking about why she hasn't yet waded into the presidential race. She came into politics as a Sanders supporter. She is a democratic socialist. She very much has this sort of outsider strategy that, frankly, has been very successful for her, which much more mirrors Sanders' approach than anyone else. So, Andrew, why do you think that she's waiting? Why is she?
Look, I think AOC is real smart. I think she knows how to tap into the grassroots, but she also understands that this is politics. And the thing is, first of all, I can't believe Dan Lipinski's still a Democrat. But look, Sanders' campaign has struggled with dysfunction and actual professionalism on that campaign. And I think she wants to back someone who actually is going to be able to win. And I think she's being smart. I think that she also has a real soapbox. And so use that at the right time. What's been very clear is she's not endorsing Joe Biden, and that has been.
That's for sure.
But that has been where she's been using her voice.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's valuable in a primary fight like this. She can wait it out sometime.
I think that the knock against her, though, is that, listen, the major progressive hit against Elizabeth Warren is that she endorsed Hillary Clinton because Hillary was going to win. She played it safe. And so, I mean, this does kind of speak to AOC's, I guess, progressive bona fides. I mean, look, anybody who's real on this, Bernie is the most legit progressive in this race. He's been saying the same stuff for 40 years. Sure, Andrew, this is a procedural distinction over how something will get done. But in terms of like the true blue, it's him. And so for her to do this, it seems calculating and kind of contra to her image, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's all about her brand.
Right.
And I think that because Bernie's campaign is struggling, she's between a rock and the hard place. Because Bernie is obviously the person that everybody expects her to endorse, but she wants to get behind somebody who's going to win, but everyone else has these establishment ties.
Right.
But so it's all about the branding.
Let's also not overstate Bernie's struggles. When we just covered a poll in California where he is winning, the most arguably critical state, recent battleground polls had him in position to win 3 of the first 4 states. So let's also not overstate that Bernie Sanders is like falling out of this race. But Andrew, to that point, I mean, Elizabeth Warren, I felt this myself, had this image and this brand of being a different kind of politician, incredible authenticity. And that move she played with Bernie and Hillary came off as very calculated, very political. AOC's brand, even more than that, is as the bomb-throwing outsider, not poll-tested, right? No one would have backed her to beat Joe Crowley, and yet she did it anyway. So for her to be kind of playing the game and saying, let me see which way the wind blows, it's not a good look for her.
I don't feel that that's what AOC is doing here. I think that first of all, I think that Warren has grown tremendously since that 2016 endorsement process. We can't ignore that. But AOC, look, the Working Families Party came out and supported Warren, and I know, Crystal, you have issues with that process. But look, AOC was closely allied with the Working Families Party.
They supported Crowley.
They supported Joe Crowley.
Look, I mean. Okay, that's all right. I have nothing to say on that point. But look, I think AOC, there's also a piece of her about uplifting women candidates. There's a small distinction in a lot of ways. It's about style between Bernie and Elizabeth Warren. And I think that, look, I'm not saying she's going to endorse Elizabeth Warren, but we also don't know, is Sanders' campaign telling her to wait?
No.
Maybe they are.
No, they're
maybe
not.
They are. Maybe they want for the right time. Maybe they want.
I mean, maybe, but I think that's unlikely.
On the dysfunction, listen, if you think Sanders' campaign is dysfunctional, you should have seen President Trump's back in the day. There was like 6 guys in a Trump Tower office, in a Trump Tower closet.
Love to
That's fine. It's not the same.
And people like me got all kinds of comfort. This isn't a real campaign.
And I watched.
They don't have a strategy. They're just going around giving speeches.
You cannot
and now he's the president.
I can't compare the Republican primary to the Democratic primary.
I think there are quite
I
a bit
think you
of
can. I think you can compare it in terms of this is the media landscape today, right? It's different. It doesn't value. I mean, look at it doesn't value. Cory Booker has tons of endorsements. Kamala Harris has tons of endorsements. Money, organization, et cetera.
Right.
What does it amount to? Nothing.
I think this is the one endorsement that actually matters.
Agreed.
And that is the one thing. And I mean, look,
Agreed.
I don't have a dog in this fight, but they do think it's odd that she hasn't done so. And I do think it raises a lot of questions about her credibility on this issue.
Yeah.
But we should also talk about this new NBC Wall Street Journal poll. Shows, especially what I thought was most interesting was by race. So we saw that Elizabeth Warren was actually leading amongst Hispanic voters in this new poll. It was particularly interesting.
Unsurprisingly, doing very well with white voters.
Yeah, doing extraordinarily well with white voters. And then on black voters, it really was Biden. I mean, the gap between Joe Biden and everybody else is just so tremendous. I mean, Andrew, does this make it so that it is almost impossible for anybody to win South Carolina other than Joe Biden?
Look, it's black voters right now is Joe Biden's firewall, right? But here's the thing. If Joe Biden, and I'm not saying he's going to, but if he loses the first two states, if he loses Iowa, if he loses New Hampshire, maybe he loses Nevada.
Yeah.
I don't think you can say the same thing about South Carolina. I think that look, he has a very, very good connection with African American voters, but momentum shifts real quickly, and if we'll see what happens in those early states.
I think he can lose those early states and still be fine because he's going to win Carolina.
And Super Tuesday, I mean, a lot of these other southern states. But the other interesting thing was within that poll was if you look at the education breakdown, no surprise, who's leading amongst educated voters? It's Elizabeth Warren. And then if you look at who's leading amongst working class voters, it's Biden and it's Sanders.
That Hispanic number was very impressive to me.
For
that
Elizabeth
was the
Warren.
first, and I want to see some more polling. It's the first time that we've seen her perform so well with Hispanic voters, and that's one of the knocks on her is that she has this very white coalition. So I'm sure her campaign is incredibly encouraged by that.
I think the split among the demographics shows us that this is basically a three-way tie here, way out. I don't see any of them dropping out until the very
and
end.
that's part of the issue. All of them have a credible enough claim to trying to become the nominee. I mean, Andrew, at what point do things start to winnow down? I mean, I think that the rest of the field is generally gone. But like with these three things, how long is this thing going to go? They all have a tremendous amount of money. They could go a long way. All of them could go all the way to the convention if they wanted to. How long is this going to take?
Look, I think the fundraising reports that we'll see next month are very important, right? I think you may start seeing some of the lower polling candidates drop out, but these top three aren't going anywhere. I don't think the top five are going anywhere for a long time, and I think that's okay because let's see. I don't want anyone to just get a pass to the nomination without being fully tested, right? I am worried.
I agree with that.
But I am also worried that we're going to get to a point where we beat each other up so much that we then go into, it's like we tried to get a KO in a boxing match but made it to a split decision, and now we're bloodied. But I do think we need our candidates to be tested. We need to make sure we can handle everything that Trump's going to throw at us. And if we're going to nominate Elizabeth Warren, which we may, we better be damn sure that she can beat Donald Trump.
Excellent point. Lady and Jen, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Tomorrow on Rising, we dive into the numbers surrounding the student debt crisis and how that has factored in college students' choice for president.
And Yang Gang, take note. Presidential candidate Andrew Yang sits down with me for a wide-ranging interview on the 2020 race so far. Definitely don't want to miss that conversation.
And to make sure that you don't miss out, be sure to hit subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Hill TV Live. Send us your Rising queries to #RisingQ so we can answer them this weekend. We will see you guys tomorrow.
Have a great day, guys.